furnace go off because I'm in my bedroom and the furnace is housed in my bedroom. It's a very strange setup. So you
Oh,
will probably hear that.
you live up north, don't you?
Yeah, I am in DC. I mean, it's not specifically cold outside.
Mm.
The building that I live in, it's a brick building. It's an old building
You're
and
freezing.
it gets cold inside.
Yeah,
So I still have my heat on. And it's March, so
yeah. And my sister live in Silver Springs, so she told me that they freezing up there. So yeah,
I wouldn't say we're freezing. It's been like in the 60s and 70s. That's not freezing.
we from Florida, so anything below 70, yeah.
Oh, got it.
You know how that go. All right. Let's go ahead and start. All right, so welcome, y'all. My name is Volsi. We're here with my friend V. Her camera's not on, but that's okay. She doesn't have to have it on. Anytime you guys come up here, you don't have to have your camera on, and it's all fine. We're here for another edition of Atheist Testimonials. In this series, we are discovering and talking to becoming an atheist through the black lens, or if you are already an atheist and you grew up in an atheist household, how that was growing up in a religious society, and of course, all through a black lens because we don't get that a lot. So today we have V with us. V, say hi to the people.
Hello.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get right into it. Yeah, I had a little bit of the conversation before, but that's all right. I'm not gonna edit that out. So V, go ahead and tell us a little bit of about yourself. Your childhood all the way up until now.
So I am V or V the singer. I am a singer and a songwriter. Um, do you want me to just start at the beginning?
Oh yeah, I kind of left it vague. All right, let's start with this. Let's start with like who you are, what you do now, and how long have you been an atheist?
So as I said, I'm a singer and a songwriter. Currently living in the DMV. Um, I consider myself agnostic atheist, and I think that started maybe 2004, which was my last foray into religion. Um, so it's been 20 plus years. Before that, was affiliated or associated with Jehovah's Witnesses, probably from, man, I think quite a young age. I usually say 13, but my family's been kind of involved in the religion since before then. So I know I've gone to probably some meetings, as a child. But yeah, I would say when I was more aware of it from age 13 until about age 21. I'd never got baptized into the religion, but I would go to meetings and I eventually started going door to door. And that was after I moved to Minnesota. I'm originally from Indiana and then I moved to Minnesota. Um, and so, yeah, I stopped dealing with Jehovah's Witnesses about age 21
Mhm.
and kind of just started breaking out and living life as a non-religious person, um, and kind of just discovering myself. um, started started actively dating and becoming sexually active and just learning about myself. And so I did that for a long time, and then I met my ex-husband, who I think was also on a journey to find himself or his place spiritually.
Mhm.
He started out with Catholicism because he went to Catholic school, and then I think he became a universal Unitarian or Universalist or something like that. And
Yeah.
then when we met, we weren't really into religion or anything, and I don't even know how we ended up going to the church that we did. I have no idea. It was a small little neighborhood church, and I mean like really small. I don't
Mm-hmm.
even know. It was probably maybe 50 to 100 members, if that. Just a little local neighborhood church on the corner in Minneapolis, and we just started going. I don't know why, I don't know how. And then we considered ourselves charismatic Christians, non denominational.
I know how that go.
It was so strange, and we just sort of fell into it.
Mm-hmm.
We actually ended up getting married at the church, and we stayed there for a few years. And I think just our experiences there
Mm-hmm.
kind of made us stop wanting to deal with religion altogether. Um, so by the time like 2004 came around, we had just stopped going, and I personally was done with religion
Mm-hmm.
and the belief in a God or Christ or any of that. I was just done, but I still felt like there was source or creator, but not this figurative Godhead, this Almighty God and this Christ and all that stuff. I just did not believe in that anymore.
Right.
And that's pretty much when I termed myself agnostic. Later, I added on the atheist because like I said, I believe that there's something, but I do not believe in God or religion or anything. And I think with my ex, he was just still trying to find himself. But
Gotcha.
as I said, so for about the past 20 plus or so years, that's when I transitioned into agnostic atheism for myself.
Gotcha. Yeah. Pretty succinct. you know, pretty succinct. Yeah. People usually give me like just a general view, but that was a lot to talk about there. You know what I mean? Thank you. You said that you grew up as a Jehovah Witness. Um,
Hmm.
as as far as I know, I do have friends who are ex JW or non-practicing JW, but my fiance is also an ex JW. And with her, it was a lot. It was a lot there. You know, what I mean, I'm not gonna put her business out there, but as far as being in the organization to coming out, was their transition of, as a non-practicing, or did you get completely excommunicated and they cut off your entire network because of that?
No, like I said, I never got baptized.
Mhm.
So that was something that they never were able to hold over me. But because I was indoctrinated into their belief system, I just didn't go all the way to the left until I quit. Well, I'm not going to even say go to the left. I disobey, quote unquote, their rules and regulations. I mean, I didn't date or go to the prom or celebrate holidays or anything when I was just associated with them,
Mhm.
going to meetings and things from age 13 to about 21. So that never happened because I wasn't out there doing anything because I was really, really committed to the
Mhm.
cult. I was
Gotcha.
very committed to them and the beliefs. As a matter
Mhm.
of fact, everybody else in the Kingdom Hall was doing it and getting pregnant around me. I'm like, y'all, y'all doing more than I am, and I'm not even baptized. I
Mhm.
mean, that that always makes me laugh. That the baptized kids, the kids who grew up in it and who were firmly, supposedly more entrenched, were doing a lot more than I was at 13, and it's like, okay,
And
um,
that's
yeah.
that's really a thing that I've seen growing up in church, because it's very similar to growing up in a black church. I grew up Pentecostal, and
Mm.
I've seen a lot of the same thing. Those who are supposedly really into it, like choir leaders and head sopranos and people who go up and do testimony and cry, and those who I know in JW this is not a thing, but those who get filled with the Holy Spirit and convulse and all this, all that type of stuff.
Mhm.
What I mean?
Mhm.
Maybe the ones that busting it wide open. you know,
Literally.
maybe the same one busting it wide open. It's really crazy. Let me ask you, what started your journey of questioning of everything? Like, was it a catalyst, or just not being in a church anymore, being done with religion, that got you start the questioning, or were you questioning before you were actually done with it?
When I look back on it with the J Dubs, I think I was just tired of trying to conform and or perform because and I don't know if I was questioning at that point. I think, like I said, I was just tired and I didn't want to be in it anymore. And I wanted to experience a different life as an adult because I had been so restricted again from age 13 up until 21. So you got 8 years there, 8 formative years that include puberty.
Hmm.
And I just wasn't able to experience the the types of things that teenagers usually do.
Hmm.
Now, I'm not saying that I didn't have urges or feelings or things because, you know,
You're a
I
teenager.
wasn't having, yeah, I wasn't having sex or anything, but that doesn't mean that I wasn't being sexual
Hmm. Yeah.
in the privacy of my own bedroom.
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure, no, well, of course, no one knew these things. So,
Hmm.
um, I mean, let's be real, even though I was associated with this religion, it's like I had my first orgasm when I was 17. So again, not with someone, but it's like,
Those urges
just
exist. Right, right. You're human.
right.
And
I'm exploring my body and figuring things out as a teenager.
yeah,
Sure,
exactly.
they say that masturbation is a sin, but I really didn't care.
Yeah, yeah.
I did not care, and especially because I wasn't baptized. I was like, well,
I ain't baptized yet, so we
and I
we
never got.
yeah, it's like we know the claims, we know the stories. You can't hold the hand of God if your hand is on yourself and all this other stuff. I
Right.
know. Well,
So
yeah, yeah, I got.
I, yeah, I think I was just tired of being under that
Mm.
quote
And
unquote heavy blanket of covenant with the J
right, right.
Dubs.
And is that what really got you researching to see like the claims of the Bible to see if it's actually true and stuff like that, or did that come like way later in your years?
I think that came a little bit later, um, like after I was done with when I was done with religion as a whole, specifically the whole Christian thing. But when I was out of dealing with J Dubs, I researched a lot of ex J Dubs and what they had to say,
Mm-hmm.
and watched videos, heard their testimonies, went to various websites, and our stories were similar. Some people had a lot worse experience than did I.
Hmm.
Things about abuse and other things going on within and without. It never got to that point with me because it just didn't.
Hmm.
But like I said, for some people, it was taken there. People getting married young and forced to have kids and all this stuff. And
Of course.
I'm just grateful that it, it never got to that point with me. And I
Hmm.
think that listening to other people's testimonies and hearing what they went through, it solidified my choice, knowing and helped me to feel like I did the right thing from getting out of this religion. And that's when I really began to see that it was definitely a cult. Never went back.
Mhm.
And they would knock on my door still, and I would tell them, you know what, I'm not a JW anymore. And they'd be like, why? And I just say, I'm not interested in the religion. Please don't knock on my door
Mhm.
anymore. And so, yeah, their attempt to try to, lull me back never
Yeah,
worked.
bring you back into the fold. We know how that goes. Yeah,
Yeah, hell no, no.
a lot
It's
of my
like
old friends. Yeah, a lot of my old friends when they find out, what I am now, they kind of try to bring me back into the fold, into the to arms of Jeebus. You know what I mean? You know how that go. I was
we'll
actually gonna
pray
ask you.
for you.
Yeah, I'll pray for you and all this stuff. But I was actually
Mm,
wanted to ask you about that. If you ever because you said they still knock on your door. Um, did you make well growing up in a church and with other young people, you're bound to make friends and stuff like that. Do any of those people still speak to you, or because you're not in the faith anymore, they're not? I know there's rules that you're not actually allowed to speak to or have friends with people from outside the faith and all the other crap. But the people that I knew who were JW, they didn't give a shit about those rules. They talk to us anyway. Did the same thing happen to you? Are you still friends with some of them, or did they stop communication as well?
I never really made any deep friends
Mm,
when I was a JW. Like never. I never made any friends. Uh, So it didn't really matter. I think I had one good friend, but I think I veered off and she veered off and we never really touched base again.
mm,
So that was never an issue. Um, of course, when I was with that church, the Christian church, I mean, I didn't really make too many friends there either. And of course, once you stop going, to church regularly, they kind of forget you,
yeah.
which is kind of what happened.
Mm,
Except one day, many years after that, I saw the pastor's wife, and I was just minding my business, and she just happened to be in the same place. And she asked me, "Oh, are you still going to church?" And I said, "No." She's like, "Oh, well, you can go to any church. It doesn't have to be ours." And I'm like, "Okay, go away."
I'm not going to none of them. Just
Right. So, I didn't get into that conversation with her, but that was never an issue with me because I didn't really make any friends either way. So I didn't
gotcha,
have that.
gotcha. All right. I want to talk about family because we all know that uh with my family, of course, everybody knows, but everyone's still in denial. Everyone think I'm just going through the phase. You know what I'm saying? It's like I'm not 16, y'all. So this ain't a phase. This is a decision I made as an adult. So how did I know with me, my family still love me, and everyone I've asked so far, it really hasn't affected their family relationships. Their family just kind of like, okay, whatever. They talk to them, but they're like, yeah, whatever. But have you gotten the same experience? Has your family ever cut you off, or they're all like, whatever, we accept it?
Well, to be honest, my relationship with my family is hmm, not necessarily the greatest anyway. So I didn't care what they thought, and I don't think they were that invested in me to care what I did
Mhm,
one way or the other. So it was really no thing. And I didn't really discuss it with them because I felt it wasn't their business. And I don't even think they remotely know
mhm,
anything about me in that regard, maybe except my niece.
mhm,
I think she knows that I'm agnostic atheist. I think I've had more issues with friends
mhm.
and attempting to date
We gonna get into that.
because yeah, so but family no, because they're all over the place in my family. Like you've got the pockets of us who do not believe, and
Mhm,
then you've got those who do. I think maybe one or two of my family are even still with Jehovah's Witnesses. They left and they came back and then left and came back. And
uh,
I don't know who. necessarily. I have an idea, but so my family's all over the place, belief, religion wise. So it would be weird for them to try to even come down on me. It's like, well, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So it was never a source of contention in my family. And if it was, I didn't know about it or I didn't care
Didn't care.
because we weren't that close anyway. Um, I have like maybe one or two family members following me on TikTok, so they might know now, but I
Mhm.
don't really care. It's like I don't care.
Yeah,
It's a non-issue, basically.
I got you. It's a non-issue. No, that's pretty good. You know what I mean? Because I'm not saying it's good that you're not close with family. I always wish people are close with family, but yeah, it's I've always heard, not really in our community, but in this community, that family members actually absolutely cut them off. And I've seen that more with us when it comes to black folks. Our families usually don't do that. They may talk on our heads or anything like that, but they won't, completely cut us off. The issue that we do have, which is what we're gonna get into next, is dating. That's where, bro. Yeah, so let's talk about those experiences because you already know in the black community we love us some white Jesus. So has it ever been an issue with well, you're gonna say it's been an issue with you dating, has it?
It has been, and
Mm,
it's been very strange. I'm not dating anymore. Not because I'm with someone. I just kind of opted out of the dating scene for a while.
I don't even blame you.
Mm.
Oh, who boy. If it wasn't for my fiance, oh, but I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But interestingly enough, I did try out that site where you did meet your partner,
Mm,
and it really did not bode well either for me personally.
I'm
I mean,
sorry.
I had no, it's okay. I had some connections, but they all fell flat.
Mhm,
And so I think that was my very final attempt, and that was almost 2 years ago. But I haven't really been on a date since 2019.
mhm.
So that's almost 5 years. But
Yeah.
as I said, um, back to the story at hand, when I was dating, it did present itself as an issue
Mhm,
because I'm just going to be point blank. Many, many men see religion as a means of control, which is one reason why I opted out of religion because I felt like, I mean, come on, I was in J Dubs, and that is like a cult. It's mind control,
mhm,
emotional, financial, all spiritual control. That's what it's all about.
mhm,
So I felt that when I was dating, if a man knew that I was not religious, wasn't child free, or I'm child free,
mhm,
they already felt like, okay, you're a problem.
mhm,
So, there were those who judged me harshly,
mhm,
but they were still very lewd and sexual with me. And I'm thinking, I guess two things can be true, right? You're all for Jesus, but you want to fuck my brains out.
mhm,
Sure. Great. Yeah. It was just a very odd experience overall. For example, one guy, um, he was extremely religious, and I told him, well, I really don't believe in God and all that stuff, so this might not be a good idea for us to continue talking. But
mhm.
they would always say, oh, it doesn't matter. It's okay. It's no big deal. It was a big deal, believe me. So again, back to this one particular guy that I was just conversing with. He told me he was in his 50s, and then I found out he was like 65.
Cool.
50 versus 65 is a big gap.
Yeah.
It's a really big gap. And you're
Yes.
telling me that you're much, much younger, I guess, to appease to me, but you're like 15, 16, maybe 20 years older.
Mhm,
So it had gotten to a point we had never even met. It was just talking. and he's telling me he wants to do all these things and stuff, but he's a godly man. And so I confronted him and I let him know, I found out that you're a lot older than you are. So you're like 65, right? He's like, well, what does that matter, my age? I'm not going to tell you my real age. And you're crazy and weird because you don't even believe in God. And so you've got problems. And he just went off on me. And I'm like, why are you even bringing that up? You're seriously lying to me about something that's really important. And then you're trying to counteract it with my belief system.
Mhm.
That doesn't make any sense. So that didn't go anywhere after that. And then there was another guy that I was talking with, and our conversation and everything seemed to go well. I think maybe we just talked for a few weeks. And he actually lived in here in the area, in the DMV area.
Mhm.
And he was in Maryland, and I was still living in Minnesota. And, we eventually got around to that. And then we eventually got around to talking about religion because he's continental African guy,
Mhm.
and he admitted he was very, very religious. Eventually, it got to the point where he was like, "Oh, I go to church every Sunday and all this stuff," but he was very, very sexually active, like very. Again, he was revealing these things to me, and it's like this is a different person.
Mhm.
And it's like, oh, okay. And saying he wants to do all these things. And he's like, I want a woman who can cook and all this stuff because I don't like to cook. And I'm like, okay, all right. And like I said, when I brought up the subject of my non belief, and I believe I said staunchly non believer, like
Mhm.
I'm not into it, then everything kind of turned. And he's like, oh my God, I've never been with someone who was a staunch non believer and I need to think about it. And I'm
Mhm.
like, oh, okay, I guess.
Okay.
And so he
Mhm.
eventually ghosted me. He just stopped talking with me and everything. He didn't even care that I lived in Minnesota. That wasn't the issue.
Mhm.
His big issue was I'm a non believer, but he's trying to get in my pants and
Mhm.
do all these things sexually. And it's like, you guys just do not hear yourselves how contradictory you are. Or maybe they do and they don't care. And they figure, well, God will admonish me as long as I go to church and pray and all this stuff. But I can, fuck 7 days a week and all this stuff. But oh my goodness, if you don't believe in God, then what's wrong with you? It's like there's nothing wrong with me. I'm good. I'm good
Good.
without
Yeah.
God. And that's something they cannot handle, you know.
And you know what happens with the African guy? Like
Hmm.
he had his eyes on the head leader of the choir. You know what I'm saying? And the moment he
Mm.
found out that it wasn't gonna work out with you, he went after that. You know exactly what happened. But yeah, I mean, this story is very, very similar because I've seen that. I don't know what it is, but it seems that believers, because myself and the other three men who I've interviewed, they've said the same thing. Basically, black people love some Jesus. So they meet you, they find out that you're an atheist. I think the thing is though, for some reason the religious men will be like, we'll see if it works out. The religious
Mhm.
women will tell us it's probably not gonna work out, but they'll say that we can come over every Saturday. And it's like what's the point of that? Yeah, you know what I mean? Like I still remember a religious person that I went on a whole birthday trip with her, you know what I mean? Like we went out to another city and everything like that. You was taking back shots the whole weekend. What you mean we can't take nothing serious no more? Like what is the issue now?
Wow.
You know? Like I don't get it. It's like it's one of those really strange things, and it's like I don't know, believers think that we have less of a feeling or something like that. And I think it's tied to the fact that a lot of times believers think that everything is God. You know what I mean? So love
Mhm.
is God as well. You know what I mean? And if God is defined as love and we don't believe that, we must not believe in a version of love that they believe, which is the ultimate. And how can I love you properly if you don't believe in their version of, if you don't believe in love in of itself, how can I love somebody properly? I think that's where it comes from. And this is something that I've argued on TikTok before on my TikTok debates. Follow me on Volsy Thoughts TikTok, same shameless plug. But I've actually heard Christians say that we don't understand what love is because God is love and because we don't believe in that. You see what I'm saying? So I think that's where it comes from, where they think that um they just approach us with sex, you know what I mean? Because they thinking that, okay, this person doesn't really love anyway, so let me just approach them with my body parts. Let me approach them with the booty gospel, which is what I call it.
I definitely think it's that, and I also think that think believers see agnostics or atheists as amoral because a lot of them come with, well, if you don't believe in God, then how do you keep your morals?
Mm,
Morality is not tied into religious belief. I
exactly.
wish people would understand that just because I don't believe what you believe, it doesn't make me any more or less moral than you. Just because you go to church and you pray, it doesn't put you on this high pedestal of morality. You're not the authority figure of morality, and everybody else who doesn't believe is just flailing around out there doing whatever. That's really what a lot of people, um, religious people, believe. And so they feel I can just get my rocks off and have sex with this person,
Mhm,
and I'll repent on Sunday
mhm.
and do, wash, rinse, repeat. And it just doesn't work like that. And I'm a very, as far as I define myself, a very moral person.
Mhm.
Um, I just don't believe in God, but people can't seem to separate religion and morality for whatever reason.
Yeah, exactly. I've always told people that I've always told, like, especially the Abrahamic religions, you don't have a system of morals, you have a system of dictates. It says your God
Hmm.
tells you what to do and you just do this, that, and the third. Like we do this on our TikTok lives all the time. You know what I mean? We ask them, if God would ask you to do this, unalive children or a baby, would you do it? We get yes all the time. So it's like,
Oh,
yo,
wow.
all the time we get a yes. So it's like, yo, you don't have a system of morals, you have a system of dictates. You know what I mean? Because I want to unalive children, but you would. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things, you know what I mean? And I really think that ties into it, like what you said. They think that because they are on a higher moral standard, they could treat us any way, which is immoral in of itself. You see what I mean? Really,
No, yeah, no, I totally agree. And as long as the religion dictates it, or whatever literature says to do, they will do it. And that's very indicative, going back to Jehovah's Witnesses, very indicative of that cult. I mean, that's why they cut their family members off so quickly because J-Dubs you'll say they're disfellowshipped, you can't associate with them. You have to do as we say and not deal with that person. So it's just rules and regulations, and you got to follow the rules to stay in the religion, the cult, the sect, whatever, or you'll be disfellowshipped or disbanded. So it's not autonomous morality, just thinking on your own. It is really by mandate and
man.
very strict mandate, which is again why I just was like, I'm kind of done with J Dubs because it's all about following the rules and being within that circle. And anything outside of that, it doesn't go.
A very high system of control, and you actually said that a lot of men, especially the ones that you met, use their religion as a system of control. Did that inform a lot of your, like, social and political beliefs? I know when I was in the religion, I was very homophobic and I was very patriarchal. One thing that I was taught a lot was, how men are the head and the leader of the household, and women submits to men and they follow you. And I still remember where this would come from even women preachers. where they would describe women as the property of men. You know what I'm saying? Like wives as a property of her husband, basically. Daughters as a property of their father. You see what I'm saying? So it's like
Mhm.
mindset was pushed a lot. I had to unlearn all of that. Yeah, I mean, and even still, in some ways, I've said this in videos in the past. I still have some chauvinistic beliefs about me. You know, what I mean, I still believe in the opening doors and being a provider and stuff like that. And I'm not sure if it's a bad thing, but the fact that I was raised in it so long, and that at this age, I still believe in some of those things, which shows how effective it was. Do do you think like when you were in it, uh, were these things that you actually believed and changed later, or the fact that you always thought that this patriarchal thing is sort of bullshit, and that caused a conflict, or like what happened there? Did you believe in it and then unlearn it, or was it always bullshit to you?
I think I had to unlearn it because for a long time I did believe in whatever the religion said. Like I had to get married, I had to have kids, I had to live just so. And then, as I said, I got older and I was like, fuck this noise or fuck this shit, I'm out. Because I just did not want to live by the mandates, the dictates, the rules.
Mhm,
I was just over it. And then getting again on the other side with this whole Christian non-denominational thing
mhm,
and dealing with that, I just saw more craziness, just in a different light, but still kind of under the same lamp. And it's like,
I like that
yeah,
analogy. It was on a
y-
different light, but it's the same lamp.
same
I like
lamp. Just well, what do they say? SSDD.
that. Mhm,
Literally, that's all it was. And I'm just like, yeah, this is bullshit. I gotta go.
mhm.
Just the attitudes and
Gotcha.
the ritualisticness, the cliquishness, the weirdness. It's like I'm in high school all over again, except it's religion based.
Oh, I
So let
definitely want to hear some of the click stories. You know, church gossip be juicy.
Oh my God. I wasn't firmly involved in that
Mhm.
church because
I
I
got
was
you. I got
still
you. I feel you.
new and I really wasn't cool with most of the people there, and they weren't cool with me. That
Mhm,
vibe just wasn't there. I mean, I attended and everything, but I still felt like an
mhm.
outsider, and
But
I
you
didn't
kind of
have
see the cliquishness around, right? You kind of feel it.
all around. It's like the peeps who were there for the longest, they were friends.
Mhm,
So the the biggest story involved me basically, but it wasn't really gossip. It was just how they treated me. So as I said, my ex-husband and I started going there and it was what it was. And it just so happened that he and I were planning to get married and then an usherette of the church and her guy were planning on getting married. We got married months from each other.
mhm,
So you can probably already see where this is going, but so found out the usherette and her guy were getting married,
mhm,
and the church wanted to throw her a bridal shower.
mhm,
So and she invited me. I'm trying to think, were we in the choir too? I don't know, but whatever for whatever reason, this particular usherette took a liking to me.
mhm,
I don't know why. I'm like, whatever. If I'm not saying I'm a bad person or anything, but I guess she just liked me, so it was cool, fine. I didn't care. So I went to her bridal shower, and it took it took place at one of the other parishioners' homes. Very nice place in the suburbs. Very, very nice shower. Very nice. It was catered. There was music.
Oh
Almost
wow.
all of the church showed up. And I was like, wow, this is really nice. So, of course, I'm mentally thinking that this is how they treat everyone.
Yeah. It's a rude
Right?
awakening.
Right? And I'm like, this is really, I mean, it was really nice. Even the pastor and his wife showed up. I'm like, wow.
Wow.
They didn't stay long, but they showed up.
They
They
showed up.
made an appearance.
Mhm,
I'm like, okay, cool. So now, like I said, I too was also getting married that same year, just months later.
mhm,
She got married like in February or March. I got married in May of that year.
mhm,
So then somebody, I don't know who, suggested that I get a shower, thrown for me, a bridal shower.
mhm,
And I was like, oh, okay, that would be great. That would be nice. Maybe she suggested it. I don't know.
mhm,
So come to find out, my shower was going to be in the basement of the church. And I'm like, what?
really, nigga?
Exactly. My shower was in the church basement. It
Wow.
was cold, it was damp. Um, I think just the usherette, like I said, she took to me for whatever reason.
Mhm,
She was there, and another lady was there from the church. That was it. And there were things going on um, while my shower was taking place, but nobody really came downstairs and said anything or gave me a gift or anything.
wow.
So it was, like I said, the two ladies of the church, myself, of course, my sister, my aunt, and I think a couple of my nieces, maybe two or three of them.
Mhm.
And that was it. And it's just like, wow, this is very different than the shower that was thrown for the usherette. This is
Yeah,
like,
very cliquish, ain't it?
and they're extremely cliquish. It was just so weird. Nobody really cared. Nobody came downstairs, and I don't know if the pastor was there or not that day, but I think it was a Saturday. And like I said, other stuff was going on upstairs, but nobody really cared or paid attention. Um, and the food, I think people just brought whatever.
Mhm.
It wasn't catered. I know that much. And I'm just like, okay.
That's yeah, that's messed up. That's
I will never forget that as long as I live. I'm like, that was a low blow.
yeah, that was low.
That showed me how little they really cared about or thought about me. Like, I can't even get a hello from the pastor's wife, and you're supposed to be the first lady of the church.
Mhm.
Okay.
You supposed to be one of the ones blessing the wedding, ain't you? You know, it's it,
Right.
and the
Like,
thing is, I've noticed a lot of that in church. You said this church was like about 90 to 100 people, right?
barely even if 100, maybe 50 to 100, if that.
Maybe
It was
50
a
to
really
100.
small church. It was a
Small church,
small
yeah.
church.
Yeah,
Yeah.
small church. And the thing is, what's sad about that is that those small churches you would think are a little bit more enclosed, a little bit more, communal and stuff like that. But even in at that scale, you could see that. And when you scale it up to the churches that have 1,000 members, 2,000 members, 3,000 members, 4,000 members, when you scale it up to that much, that's when you really see those clicks really enforce themselves. Yeah, you
Mm,
know what I mean? You see that a lot because I've seen it a lot. I grew up in a church where it was probably around 200 members, and it existed there. So I can only
mm.
imagine if I were to go to one that had 3,000 members, how much would it be? Yeah, I mean, so yeah,
Yeah,
um,
it was no different than a smaller church. Like I said, it was like they were really tuned into their grandfathered in members, if you will, the ones that have
yeah,
been there the longest, the ones who they knew.
mm,
And the difference in treatment was very stark and vast.
very apparent.
Yes.
Very, very, very apparent. All right, V, we're gonna go ahead and get out of here, but I got one last question for you. All right,
Mhm.
as an atheist community, as a Black atheist community, we're a minority within a minority. Now, some folks feel that we should be focusing more on building a community and a safety network for us, And others feel that we should probably be a little bit more vocal, getting involved into a lot of these like content creation and debates, and being out there with secular activism and stuff like that. Which route would you say that we should do? Because I'm more of a walk and chew gum person. I think we could do both. But in your opinion, which one do you think is more important? Like one or the other, or we can walk and chew gum?
I think it just depends on what each person wants to do. I can't say as a what we should do as a collective because it's
Mhm,
too broad and vast,
mhm,
even though there aren't that many of us. Um, it's hard to say, but for myself personally, I think yes, we should definitely be more vocal, but we don't have to get into these constant debates and theorizing and all of this stuff. That's not necessary unless somebody wants to go that route and do that. I
mhm,
personally don't want to, but I will definitely be more vocal about it. And it's almost like kind of a coming out, especially in the Black community.
mhm.
Even, being child free is still taboo
Very.
for the most part in the Black community. It's
Mhm,
a very strange thing. So, like I said, for myself personally, I don't mind speaking out about my belief or lack thereof. Um, but as far as getting into these religious debates and things of that nature and going round and round,
uh-huh.
I'll leave that to you and others. But again, it depends on the person. I
Gotcha.
feel like how each person wants to represent as an agnostic or agnostic atheist or an atheist. It's very, as I said, individualistic in how they choose to go about expressing that. And people have to be careful too, because it could disrupt their livelihoods, even,
Mhm.
So again, I leave it to each person how they wish to go about that.
Gotcha, gotcha. Because one thing that I definitely think that we need to do, we need to get a tent and a table and like big banners that say Black Atheist Coalition and say there
Mhm.
is no reason to believe in God. Change my mind and sit down and in front of mega churches and just wait for them to come out. You know what I mean? That'll be fun. You could come with me, V.
And
You know?
and they sure will. Oh man, they will. They love to debate and they love to, like you said, try
Ooh.
to reel you back in. But I
Mm,
probably wouldn't be doing most of the talking. I would probably just be doing most of the listening and watching and grabbing the popcorn, to be honest.
yeah,
I'll let Volsey handle that. Oh,
yeah, yeah.
me, I'm just the wing woman. I'm just here for decoration.
Yeah, just different decoration. Yeah, just here to wrangle in some ushers. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, you could come to our club sometime. We have baked cookies and you could sing for them and all that. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm. Oh no, there won't be any religious songs.
There won't be any religious songs, but you could come by and we could sing. You know what I mean? You know how I say. You can wrangle them in the reverse booty gospel. You know what I'm saying? Like reverse
Right.
reverse it on. Now, you did say you were a singer-songwriter, so I definitely want you to promote your brand or your studio or anything that you got going on because we need you to win a Grammy, y'all. We're trying to have her win a Grammy. V.
That is an extremely lofty goal for a very much under the radar independent artist. But if if you do want to follow, it is Be the Singer on SoundCloud, um, Be the Singer on Instagram, and I guess while it's still here, Be the Singer on TikTok. I don't
While
know
it's still
whether I don't really know what's going to happen because so many things are conflated and nobody really knows the truth. They're like, "Oh, it's going to be a ban. Is it really, or is it just all talk?"
here,
We'll find out, I guess. So,
we'll find out. And who knows? And if it does get banned, everything that we were doing on TikTok is gonna be transferred over here on YouTube anyway. I got it all set up. So
well, YouTube has been here forever, even
Mhm.
way before TikTok, and
Exactly.
it'll be here, I guess, for the duration thereafter. So, that's how
Exactly.
I feel about it.
Exactly. So we'll get that done. I'm gonna have all of these links in the description below. So please follow her. Please support her. If you are a black atheist and you want to give your testimonial, please follow us. Please join the Discord. It is a black only space, and you do have to verify. All right, V already went through the verification. She know
Yep.
how it is. So you do have to verify that you are a black person, and because this is a safe space for us, we want to build that first before we build anything else. I want to thank V for being here and giving us the interview and a scope into her mind and everything like that. Follow her everywhere, and we will see y'all later.
All right. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
No problem, y'all. All right, y'all. Peace.